The wedding applause echoed across the bright afternoon courtyard just as the woman who had once held my future looked me in the eyes and smiled at another man. For years of promises disappeared with a single kiss that wasn't meant for me, and before I could stop the tears burning behind my eyes, I realized the greatest heartbreak of my life was only the beginning. I had no idea that one desperate decision made before the sun set would leave me carrying the twins of a billionaire surgeon I believed I would never see again. If you believe kindness can heal broken hearts, forgiveness can change lives, hope is always worth fighting for, and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community. Meredith Vaughn had always believed hard work could fix almost anything. Raised by a school librarian and a mechanic in a quiet coastal town, she became one of the youngest trauma nurses at Harbor Memorial Hospital through determination rather than privilege. She never cared about luxury or social status. All she wanted was a family built on honesty. Unfortunately, honesty was the one thing her longtime boyfriend, Preston Hale, had never truly offered. While Meredith spent years working exhausting daytime shifts and supporting his ambitious legal career, Preston quietly built another relationship behind her back. The afternoon she arrived at the elegant outdoor wedding venue after receiving an invitation she had foolishly believed was a misunderstanding, she discovered the truth. He wasn't asking for forgiveness. He was inviting her to watch him marry someone wealthier. The laughter around her felt louder than the orchestra. Every smile seemed aimed directly at her wounded heart. Preston's new bride treated Meredith as though she had merely been an obstacle on the road to success. Friends who once praised her loyalty suddenly acted as if she had never mattered. Meredith stood beneath the brilliant blue sky feeling invisible. Her closest friend, Laurel, gently suggested they leave before the ceremony ended, but Meredith refused. She needed to witness the final moment herself. She needed to watch the chapter close so there would be nothing left to hope for. When the ceremony ended in the late afternoon, Meredith wandered toward a lakeside restaurant filled with people celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, and reunions. The sunlight reflected across the water while musicians played cheerful melodies that only deepened her loneliness. She ordered a drink she rarely touched and quietly stared across the lake until a man sitting alone nearby caught her attention. He wasn't smiling either. His expensive clothes were neat, but grief lived plainly in his exhausted eyes. His name was Callum Sterling. He explained that 6 months earlier he had lost the woman he was supposed to marry after a tragic accident. Since then, he had buried himself in surgery, saving strangers while silently wondering why he could not save the person he loved most. Meredith admitted that she had just watched the man she expected to marry promise forever to someone else. Two broken souls, strangers only minutes before, found comfort simply because neither pretended to be strong. As the afternoon slowly drifted toward sunset, they talked about loss, disappointment, fear, and the strange emptiness left behind when dreams collapsed. There were no promises, no expectations, and no elaborate plans. They simply allowed themselves one brief moment to feel alive again. When the evening finally arrived, they shared one unforgettable night together before Meredith quietly slipped away at dawn, leaving behind only a handwritten apology because she believed disappearing would hurt less than becoming another burden in a grieving man's life. Back home, Meredith convinced herself she would never see him again. She returned to nursing, threw herself into longer shifts, and refused to think about the kind surgeon whose surname she barely knew. Weeks later, everything changed. A routine medical appointment delivered impossible news. She wasn't expecting one child. She was carrying twins. The examination room suddenly felt too small. Every fear she had buried rushed back at once. How could she raise 2 children alone? How could she explain their father? Would Callum believe she was chasing his fortune if she somehow found him? She remembered the expensive watch on his wrist, the chauffeur waiting nearby, the quiet confidence that surrounded him. Men like him probably spent their lives avoiding people who wanted their money. Meredith made a painful decision. She accepted an overseas daytime nursing contract in Europe that she had once considered only as an adventure. She promised herself she would build a future without asking anyone for help. Every paycheck went toward preparing for her babies. Every day she reminded herself that independence was safer than disappointment. Months later, under the care of compassionate doctors, Meredith welcomed two premature but healthy twins into the world during a bright autumn morning. She named them Rowan and Elias. Looking into their tiny faces, she promised they would never feel unwanted. She worked tirelessly, balancing hospital shifts with every possible opportunity to provide them stability. Sleep became rare. Worry became familiar. Love became endless. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Callum never forgot the woman who had briefly reminded him life could still hold hope. Returning to his position as one of the country's most respected cardiothoracic surgeons, he searched whenever his demanding schedule allowed. He remembered her first name, her laugh, the tiny birthmark near her wrist, and the kindness in her eyes. He hired investigators. He revisited the restaurant. He contacted hospitals hoping someone recognized her description. Every lead disappeared. His wealthy family encouraged him to move on. His colleagues insisted it had only been a fleeting encounter. But Callum could not erase Meredith from his heart. 5 years passed. Meredith eventually returned home and opened a charming flower shop beside a small community park. She arranged bouquets every morning before picking up the twins from school each afternoon. The little shop became famous not only for beautiful flowers but also because Meredith quietly delivered free arrangements to elderly residents and families grieving loved ones. She had transformed heartbreak into compassion. One sunny Saturday, Rowan chased a bright red kite across the park while Elias carefully collected colorful leaves nearby. A tall man kneeling to help another child retrieve a toy accidentally crossed paths with Rowan. The surgeon instinctively caught the energetic little boy before he stumbled. Callum froze. The child had his eyes. Even more startling was the familiar photograph tucked inside Rowan's backpack after it accidentally slipped onto the grass. Meredith had kept the only picture she secretly possessed from that unforgettable afternoon years earlier. Minutes later, Meredith looked across the park and felt her entire world stop. Callum was standing there. Older. Wiser. Still carrying the same gentle expression. Fear overwhelmed her. Every nightmare she had imagined returned instantly. Would he take the boys away? Would expensive lawyers arrive next? Would everything she had built disappear? Instead of acting immediately, Callum quietly requested a legal DNA confirmation after following every proper procedure. When the results confirmed he was the twins' biological father, he asked only for one meeting. Meredith expected anger. She expected accusations. She expected demands. Instead, she found tears. Callum confessed that discovering he had children filled him with overwhelming joy mixed with heartbreaking sadness for the years they had missed together. He admitted he understood why fear had driven her away but wished she had trusted him enough to choose differently. Meredith finally revealed every insecurity she had carried. She explained how Preston's betrayal destroyed her confidence. She believed wealthy men always assumed women wanted money rather than love. She genuinely thought disappearing protected everyone involved. Callum listened without interrupting. When she finished, he gently thanked her. Not because she had hidden the truth, but because she had devoted every day of her life to giving their son security, kindness, and unconditional love. He asked for nothing except the chance to know them. Meredith agreed. The first visits were carefully planned daytime outings to museums, science centers, parks, and bookstores. Callum never attempted to replace Meredith. Instead, he became another source of encouragement. Rowan loved dinosaurs. Elias adored astronomy. Callum learned everything they loved, answered every endless question, attended every school event he possibly could, and slowly earned their trust. Meredith watched carefully. She expected disappointment. It never came. Instead, she saw patience she had never experienced in any relationship before. She saw genuine fatherhood. She saw love without conditions. Months later, Callum surprised Meredith by supporting her flower shop expansion using anonymous donations to neighborhood charities rather than directly giving her money. He wanted her business to succeed because customers believed in her work, not because of his wealth. When she eventually discovered the truth, she realized he had protected both her independence and her pride. Not everyone celebrated their growing happiness. Preston unexpectedly appeared during a charity garden gala one bright afternoon. He mocked Meredith's past, suggested she had intentionally become pregnant to secure a billionaire, and attempted to embarrass her before donors and hospital executives. Before Meredith could defend herself, Callum calmly stepped forward. He spoke not with anger but with unwavering certainty. He praised Meredith's sacrifices, reminded everyone she had worked countless hospital shifts while raising twins alone, built a successful business through determination, and never once asked him for financial support. He explained that true wealth wasn't measured by family names or bank accounts but by character. The crowd fell silent. Preston walked away alone. For the first time in years, Meredith realized she no longer needed to prove her worth to anyone. Their happiness seemed complete until another unexpected tragedy struck. One sunny afternoon, while driving home after performing a life-saving surgery, Callum's vehicle was struck by a reckless driver. He survived but suffered serious injuries requiring emergency treatment at his own hospital. Meredith rushed through the hospital corridors with tears streaming down her face. Watching the strongest man she had ever known lying unconscious forced her to confront every fear she still carried. She whispered every word she had been too frightened to say. She admitted she had loved him from the beginning. She apologized for running. She thanked him for becoming the father their sons deserved. As if hope itself had answered her prayers, Callum slowly opened his eyes before the afternoon sunlight faded through the hospital windows. His first week's smile erased years of regret. Recovery required patience, but the accident changed both of them forever. They no longer postponed happiness waiting for the perfect moment. Several months later, on a beautiful spring afternoon surrounded by blooming flowers from Meredith's own garden, Callum knelt before her while Rowan and Elias proudly held a handmade sign asking whether their mother would become part of the Sterling family forever. Through joyful tears, Meredith said yes before he even finished asking. Their wedding took place beneath clear blue skies surrounded by family, grateful patients, nurses, surgeons, teachers, neighbors, and every person whose life had been touched by their kindness. There were no extravagant displays designed to impress strangers. Instead, there was laughter, forgiveness, children running across the grass, flowers arranged by Meredith herself, and two little boys proudly walking beside their parents. As the ceremony concluded, Meredith looked into Callum's eyes and finally understood something she had spent years searching for. Real love never demanded perfection. It never punished vulnerability. It never measured worth by wealth, status, or past mistakes. Real love simply stayed. Before this story comes to its close, tell us in the comments, what do you think was the greatest lesson Meredith learned: trust, forgiveness, courage, or believing she deserved to be loved? We'd truly love to hear your thoughts and experiences because your words may encourage someone else who needs hope today. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember that one painful chapter never defines an entire life. Sometimes the most beautiful family begins with heartbreak, grows through courage, and flourishes because two people finally choose trust over fear, forgiveness over regret, and hope over the wounds of yesterday. As Meredith, Callum, Rowan, and Elias walked together beneath the warm afternoon sunshine, surrounded by flowers in full bloom and the laughter of those who loved them, they proved that second chances are often life's greatest miracles, and that the strongest hearts are not the ones that never break, but the ones brave enough to love again after they do.